Mad City is a game about escaping prison, robbing banks, and fighting heroes. But one of the most important things about Mad City is its vast amount of vehicles. There are things such as bikes, cars, helicopters, planes, to even top secret experimental hoverboards. Some of these vehicles can be seen as overpowered or unfair to the average user, which is what we'll be looking at today. In this video, I will be covering the top 10 most overpowered vehicles in Mad City. Starting now. Number 10. The Hyperglider. The Hyperglider is a motorcycle that can be found in the Area 51 garage for $5.5 million in-game cash. The Hyperglider has the ability like no other. It can sprout wings and fly across the map in seconds. Another added benefit of this vehicle is its missiles, with a 2-second lock-on dealing 35 damage to players and a 2x vehicle damage multiplier ending at around 70 damage to vehicles. It can make short work of most standard vehicles. But the icing on the cake is its ability to be spawned infinitely, as it has no flight cooldown, unlike most other aircraft. With all that being said, it should be no surprise that a vehicle like this would be on this list. But you may be wondering why it's so low. The answer to that is that this vehicle has been nerfed way too hard. Previously, when Chapter 2 first came out, it used to be able to fly whenever, wherever, as it spawned with boost, thus allowing you to cross the map in record time. But as time went on, the dev team would nerf this vehicle, such as how long it can boost for, how long it takes for the boost to recharge, to even its health. Another thing that makes this vehicle kinda bad is it's extremely frail, only sporting 200 HP. A single missile is just enough to decommission the bike, not to mention that this vehicle is a bike, which makes the driver extremely vulnerable. With all that being said, I still find myself using this vehicle time to time, but I prefer to use more effective and more conventional ways of traveling, such as the Firestorm or the P1G1, which we'll probably be looking at later. Number 9. The Blackout. The Blackout is a now retired event vehicle that could be purchased for 1,500 Piggy tokens in the Piggy shop. The Blackout is what the Cobra can and can't do. Its missiles are better, its turret is better, and it is faster, and can go invisible. If you fly the Blackout with advanced flying, then the Blackout will become the fastest helicopter in the game. What makes this vehicle overpowered is its missiles. Each missile does 30 damage to vehicles and can fire a salvo of 12, totaling at around 360 damage to vehicles. This combined with advanced flying gives you the ability to take down even the best pilots with ease. Another thing that this helicopter has is stealth mode, which makes you immune to all targeting systems, which is a pretty nice benefit. The drawbacks to using this helicopter is that it can only lock on aircraft. As such, you will need to use the missiles manually for anything else. This helicopter is a pain to aim with. Its missiles are way too slow, and you have to lead your target by like a mile in order to hit them. And you're essentially useless when it comes to fighting water targets, and you won't be able to hit anything faster than a tank, not to mention its low damage to vehicles. And if you do time your shots perfectly, 30 damage is just not enough. Another drawback is its health. 400 health for a helicopter is standard, but for an attack chopper, that is way too low. And all that aside though, this vehicle is still king of low altitude warfare, and you will be able to incinerate any and all helicopter traffic. Number 8. The Warhawk. The Warhawk is a fighter jet that can be found in the aircraft carrier for $4 million in-game cash. The Warhawk is as basic as it can get. It's just a fast jet that shoots missiles, nothing special. But what makes this vehicle extremely overpowered is, well, its selling point, its missiles. It has the longest lock-on range of 1,400 studs in the game, putting it just above the Raptor's 1,300 studs. Its lock-on is no laughing matter as well, clocking in at around 1.6 seconds and dealing 60 damage to vehicles and at around 180 damage to vehicles. These missiles are one of the strongest missiles in the game. 2 strays is usually enough to kill someone. This is the most powerful a basic can be. This vehicle will begin to lose its shine at how easy it is to be countered by other entries on this list. If the pilot is smart enough, then it can stay away from small arms fire, but the issue arises with its strongest point, its missiles. Due to the missiles being target seeking, it is extremely difficult hitting your targets within narrow streets, and even more terrible with dealing with crowds of enemies, as the targeting is automatic, and you end up targeting enemies that you're not even trying to target, let alone let it be someone in a jet ski, who's at the corner of your camera, or someone in a building. But overall, this vehicle is no joke, if the pilot knows what they're doing. Number 7. The SWAT Fan. The The SWAT Fan is an armored truck that can only be obtained by buying the SWAT Game Pass for 300 Robux. Yes, I know what you might be thinking. Woohoo, pay to win vehicle. Wow, go cry about it. Anyways, but what makes this vehicle overpowered is its health. It has a total of 800 hit points. And I don't know, but that seems pretty overpowered if you ask me. But another thing that makes this vehicle really good is that its tires is invincible. This might be the safest way to get from point A to point B. It has all the benefits of a car, and you can hide in narrow streets from aircraft at a fair amount of health, making it very hard to take down, and its tires are invincible, which makes it impossible to immobilize. I don't know, that's kind of overpowered if you ask me. I'd say the only downside to using this vehicle is that it costs Robux, but come on, it's only 300 Robux. That's like $5. You can find that in the dryer. And well, I guess another downside is that it can't really defend itself as you can't really use weapons inside of it. But all that aside, this is essentially the safest mode of transportation in Mad City. Number 6. The A10. The A10 costs 7.5 million in-game cash, making it the second most expensive vehicle in the game and can be purchased at the aircraft carrier. This vehicle is very similar to its real-life counterpart. Both can take a lot of punishment. Both are built around a truck-sized Gatling gun that fires cartridges the size of beer bottles? Are you surprised that this vehicle is on its list? I thought so. That gun is by far the strongest thing you can obtain legitimately in Mad City. And keep in mind, it used to be much stronger. I think its fire rate and damage got nerfed. But anyways, this vehicle will obliterate all ground targets. And we don't even talk about the confetti surprise bombs, because those things are just they're kind of a joke, I'm gonna be honest. And notice on how I mentioned all ground targets. But what about other aircraft? Yeah, this vehicle is the worst at dogfighting. Literally any other aircraft can beat it in a dogfight, except the Nighthawk. That vehicle is mega batty doggy doo-doo worst vehicle in the game. Number 5. The X10. The X10 is a recently retired air vehicle that can be purchased at the Piggy Shop for 10,550 Piggy tokens. This vehicle comes equipped with twin explosive plasma cannons that deal 24 damage to vehicles and 17 damage to players. What makes this vehicle overpowered is when you fly it in advanced mode. It is crazy maneuverable. You can almost make like 90-degree turns with this thing like effortlessly. Call this the best dogfighter in the game if you will. The X10 can pretty much harass all ground vehicles as it has this makeshift VTOL ability that allows you to perch at a desirable altitude and rain plasma bullets in your enemies. What prevents this vehicle from being placed any further is that it is terrible at dealing with players on foot. Maybe it's just me, but I find myself dealing minuscule damage to players and having to do multiple strays just to get a single kill. I guess you can call this a downside to the X10, but the X10 only has 400 HP, making it easy to shoot down with small arms fire. But overall, this might be the best fighter plane in the game. 10 on 10 on this one. Number 4. The P1G1. The P1G1 is also a retired season vehicle that could be purchased in the Piggy Shop for 3,250 Piggy tokens, making it the cheapest vehicle in the Piggy event. So, this vehicle is not a whole lot. It's just a plane with nitrous, that's all there is to it. But this vehicle is like hella fast. Like mega fast. I'm talking second fastest vehicle fast. This might be the best way to travel across the map. It can hover, which means you can spawn it in water. It is small, which means you can spawn it anywhere without any issue. And it's the second fastest vehicle in the game, capable of outrunning missiles. The only thing that can legitimately shoot you down is the incinerator, but I mean, come on. It's not like people drive that vehicle anyways, so you should be fine. I really have nothing else to say here. It's just an amazing mode of transportation. It used to not have a spawn cooldown, which is preventing this from being placed any further. But I mean, it's as straightforward as it can be. Number 3. The Comet. The Comet was an event vehicle that had a 2% drop rate from the gingerbread gift box during the 2022 Christmas event. At first glance, it might as well just be a plain reskin, but if you look at the bottom of your screen, you can see the weapons hotbar, which means you can shoot out of this vehicle, thus theoretically making this the best dogfighter in the game. And yes, I know what you might be thinking, and I can see you writing it down in the comments. Yes, you could do the drive-by glitch with any other vehicle, such as the Archangel, and use your weapons that way. But you see, that is a glitch, and the glitch itself is overpowered, not the vehicle. This is not Mad City's most overpowered glitches, and since that is a glitch, it can get patched. And the developers don't want you shooting your guns out of air vehicles, so it is also an exploit, if you want to be fancy with your dictionary. The developers didn't need to give the Comet the ability to drive by. All they had to do was copy and paste the plane code, readjust the position of the seats, and give the plane a different model, and called it a day. But they went out of the way and gave the player the ability to drive by it with it, so this is intentional. The devs want you to use the Comet this way, because that's how they intended it to be. The only thing that is effective against this is the Incinerator and the Blackout. Nothing else. And, well, maybe an X-10 pilot, but that doesn't count. Number 2. The Knight Rider. The Knight Rider is a land vehicle that can be purchased near Paradise Pier for $4.5 million. It bears a slight resemblance to the Batmobile from Batman the Animated Series, but this is like the Walmart Great Value Batmobile. Its speed is decent, its handling, not so much. But what makes this vehicle the god of gods is its hood-mounted turret that deals 8 damage to players and 12 damage to vehicles. This turret melts any vehicle in the game like a hot knife through butter, and is the ultimate pursuer vehicle. Got a helicopter to take down? Knight Rider. High-speed chase with the Nero? Knight Rider. A-10 harassing your team? Knight Rider. This vehicle is also good at grinding. It is my go-to vehicle when doing the boat heist, and is the best vehicle for the newly added truck heist. And the final ingredient to add to this S-tier cake is this vehicle has no spawn cooldown. Once your Knight Rider is destroyed, you can simply spawn in a new one and be back in the fight in literal seconds. The only weakness to this vehicle is explosives, as it has fairly weak tires. I find it hard to believe that the billionaire vigilante could not afford bulletproof tires on his crime-hunting car. The only thing this vehicle falls in is it's terrible against enemies on foot, even after the AoE buff. It is still terrible at fighting players, but the pros heavily outweigh the cons, which is why this vehicle gets the number 2 spot. And for the number 1 most overpowered vehicle in Mad City goes to 2 vehicles actually, the Rhino and the Obliterator. The Rhino is a tank that can be purchased at Area 51 for 4 million in-game cash. It is the slowest vehicle in the game, but it has a very powerful cannon that deals 80 damage to players, 160 to vehicles, and 360 to air vehicles. The cannon has a large AoE, so it can disable any vehicle in a single hit. But don't worry guys, it's just a tank. We could just bully the hell out of it with aircraft. All is fine. You see, one thing I've been avoiding throughout this entire video is the Stinger. This weapon makes all aircraft just a complete joke. It is completely free. You can rent this for $15,000 anywhere. There's no skill behind the weapon, no drawbacks, no lock-on, nothing. Point, click, boom, aircraft gone. You literally need the IQ of a grape to use this weapon. It is the nastiest weapon in the game. You see, what makes the Rhino so overpowered is it has no weakness. There is no effective way to take down a tank in Mad City. You get absolutely nothing to take down a tank. Traditionally, you would use something like an A-10 or a chopper to take down a tank, but those vehicles are so easily counterable with the Stinger that it's essentially a joke. Mad City has added way too many counters to aircraft that they're starting to become phased out. Even Mad City's latest addition, the Obliterator, can snipe aircraft from across the map with its missiles, yet Mad City gives you nothing to beat a tank. Okay, well, the Knight Rider has really good DPS, so it should tread a tank. And you might be right, but what about 2 tanks? What about 3? What about 4? Maybe 5? I don't think so. It's starting to become more and more common for people to spawn in multiple tanks and completely dominate the server. Yeah, if you have over 2 tanks in the server, then you essentially own the server, because there's nothing your enemies can do to take you down. Because remember, Mad City doesn't have any anti-tank equipment. Even if you take enough damage, there's nothing stopping you from going to a nearby gas station and repairing yourself in seconds. By the time your tank does get destroyed, your spawn cooldown probably ended and you can just spawn in another tank and be right back in the fight. And that is how you become Heinz Skidarian and blitzkrieg an entire server. You're welcome.